At the foot of a green valley, there was a peaceful little village called Willow Creek. The village was surrounded by farms, tall trees, colorful flowers, and singing birds. But the most beautiful part of Willow Creek was the river. The villagers called it Silver River because, whenever sunlight touched its surface, the water shimmered like thousands of silver coins. Every morning, fishermen sailed across it in small wooden boats. Birds flew over the water, frogs rested among the reeds and beneath the surface. Hundreds of tiny fish moved through the clear current. Among the village children lived an 11-year-old boy named Rayan. Rayan was curious about everything. He wanted to know how birds stayed in the sky, why trees grew so tall, and what existed beneath the surface of the river. His best friend, Alina, was just as curious. One morning, while they were walking to school, Rayan suddenly stopped. "Wait!" Alina turned around. "What happened?" Rayan pointed toward the river. A small silver fish had jumped out of the water. Splash! It disappeared beneath the surface. Rayan stared at the water. "Alina, how does a fish breathe underwater?" Alina thought for a moment. "Maybe it holds its breath?" Rayan shook his head. "But fish stay underwater almost all the time." Before they could solve the mystery, the school bell rang. "We'll ask Mrs. Nadia," Alina said. The two children hurried toward school. Willow Creek had a tiny school near the river. It had only a few classrooms, wooden desks, large windows, and a garden filled with flowers. Their science teacher, Mrs. Nadia, was known throughout the village for turning ordinary lessons into exciting adventures. That morning, she walked into the classroom carrying a science book. "Good morning, everyone." "Good morning, Mrs. Nadia." She placed the book on her desk. "Today we're going to investigate a question that may seem simple." He opened the book, but its answer is incredible. She wrote on the blackboard. Rayan's eyes immediately widened. He raised his hand. "Mrs. Nadia, I was wondering about that this morning." The teacher smiled. "Then you are going to enjoy today's lesson?" She drew a fish on the board. "Tell me, what do humans need to breathe?" "Oxygen," the children answered. "Correct. And fish also need oxygen. But fish don't have lungs like humans." Alina raised her hand. "Then where do they get oxygen?" Mrs. Nadia pointed to the side of the fish's head. "From special organs called gills." The children leaned forward. "Gills?" Rayan asked. "Yes, gills are specially designed to take dissolved oxygen from water." She continued explaining. "When a fish opens its mouth, water enters." She drew arrows showing water moving through the fish. The water then passes over the gills. Tiny blood vessels inside the gills allow oxygen to move from the water into the fish's bloodstream. "And what happens to carbon dioxide?" Alina asked. Mrs. Nadia smiled. "Another excellent question. Carbon dioxide moves from the fish's blood into the water, and the water leaves through openings near the gills." The classroom became silent. Rayan looked amazed. "So fish aren't actually breathing the water?" "Exactly," said Mrs. Nadia. "They are taking dissolved oxygen from the water." Rayan looked toward the window. "Can we see it happening?" Mrs. Nadia closed the science book. "Perhaps we can." The children looked at her with excitement. "Today," she announced, "we're going to the river." A few minutes later, the children walked towards Silver River with Mrs. Nadia. They carried notebooks, pencils, and magnifying glasses. The teacher reminded them, "Today we are scientists. Scientists observe nature carefully. We don't chase animals, touch them unnecessarily, or disturb their homes." "Yes, Mrs. Nadia." When they reached the riverbank, the children sat quietly. At first they saw nothing unusual. "Then look!" shouted Alina. A group of tiny fish appeared beneath the surface. They moved between rocks and underwater plants. Rayan leaned closer. "Watch their mouths!" The children observed carefully. Open, close, open, close. The fish were constantly moving their mouths. Mrs. Nadia explained, "The fish are moving water across their gills." Rayan's face lit up. So the water is carrying dissolved oxygen to their gills. Exactly. The children were fascinated. Then Rayan noticed something strange. Wait. He pointed farther down the river. What's that? Beneath the clear water stood an old wooden structure. It was covered in moss and aquatic plants. But that wasn't the strange part. Hundreds of tiny fish were swimming around it. Some disappeared beneath the wooden boards. Others moved through the plants. Alina whispered, "Why are so many fish here?" Mrs. Nadia looked carefully. It may provide shelter and food. Fish often use underwater structures and plants as protection. Rayan watched one fish carefully. Its mouth opened. Water entered. Then the water passed across its gills. Suddenly, Rayan understood. "I know." Everyone looked at him. The fish are using the water to bring oxygen to their gills. Mrs. Nadia smiled. Exactly right. Rayan looked amazed. We can't breathe underwater, but fish have special organs that allow them to survive there. That is one of nature's incredible adaptations, Mrs. Nadia replied. But then Alina noticed something. Mrs. Nadia! The teacher turned. Look at the other side. The children walked farther along the riverbank. Something was different here. There were almost no fish. The water looked cloudy. Leaves covered parts of the surface. And near the bank, the children saw plastic wrappers and other rubbish. Rayan's smile disappeared. Why aren't there many fish here? Mrs. Nadia looked at the water. Because the condition of the water can affect aquatic life. She explained that fish need oxygen dissolved in water, and the amount of dissolved oxygen can vary depending on conditions such as temperature, water movement, plant activity, and decomposition. Pollution can also harm the environment that fish depend on. Alina looked at the rubbish. So if we make the river dirty, we're hurting the animals that live here. Yes, said Mrs. Nadia. The children looked at one another. They had come to the river to learn how fish breathe. But now they had discovered something much bigger. They had learned that the river itself was a home, and every home needs protection. Rayan suddenly stood up. We should clean it. Alina nodded. We can ask the villagers to help, Mrs. Nadia smiled. That's a wonderful idea, but we'll do it safely and with adult supervision. The next morning, the children returned with the villagers. The fishermen helped. The farmers helped. Parents helped. The children carefully collected rubbish from the riverbank. They placed it into bags. They planted native plants in suitable areas around the river. They even made colorful signs. One sign said, "The village worked together." By the afternoon, the riverbank looked much cleaner, and beneath the surface, the fish were still swimming. That evening, Rayan and Alina sat beside Silver River. The sun was slowly disappearing behind the hills. The sky became orange, pink, and gold. The river reflected the colors of the sunset. Rayan looked into the water. A small fish swam past. Its mouth opened, water flowed across its gills. And then it disappeared into the blue-green darkness. Rayan smiled. We came here looking for a mystery, Alina smiled. And we found the answer, Rayan nodded. Fish don't breathe water. They take dissolved oxygen from it, Alina replied. Using their gills? Exactly. Mrs. Nadia walked toward them. You've learned something important today. Rayan looked up. What? Mrs. Nadia pointed toward the river. Nature has thousands of amazing systems that allow living creatures to survive. The more we understand them, the more we realize how important it is to protect their homes. The children looked at Silver River. The water continued flowing peacefully. The fish continued swimming, and the village slowly became quiet. He remembered the question he had asked that morning. How do fish breathe underwater? Now he knew. Fish use their gills to extract dissolved oxygen from water. Water enters through the mouth. It flows across the gills. Oxygen moves into the bloodstream. Carbon dioxide moves out. And the water continues back into the river. A simple process, but an extraordinary adaptation. Rayan smiled. The fish weren't hiding the secret from us. Elena laughed. The secret was there the whole time. Mrs. Nadia nodded. Sometimes the greatest discoveries begin with the smallest questions. Every creature has its own amazing way of surviving. When we understand nature, we learn why protecting it matters.